Welcome back to the Sports Kid Podcast. It's Thursday, January 15th, 2026. This is a special episode featuring Dustin Fuoco from Fuoco Sports, formerly of 97.1 The Ticket. We talk about his career in sports radio, his experience covering the Detroit sports, and we dive into the Detroit Lions and what they need to do this offseason. As always, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
This one is gonna fly! A 3-run home run! Kerry Carpenter!
They give it to Jameer. Big hole. There he goes down to the 20-yard line. Angling to the 15. Gone, baby! 5! End zone! Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Kane to the basket. Hooks on the run. He hits it. Pistons are back up.
Pass over the line. Here's Kane on a change. He scores! He caught the Flyers changing. Patrick Kane with a shot inside the left goal post.
It's Williams in motion. Low snap. Melrose stopped. Michigan makes a stand and comes up with a milestone playoff victory.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. I am the Sports Kid, and this is my dad, and we are here to bring you the latest on Detroit sports and more.
That's right. Special episode tonight. It is Thursday, January 15th. We're live in the studio. Again, second time this week.
Yeah.
Emery has a special guest tonight. Are you excited?
Yeah.
He's pretty pumped tonight. We're looking forward to this one. Pretty cool. Before we get started, just a reminder that next week
is the 52nd episode
of
the Sports Kid Podcast, the year anniversary.
1 year anniversary coming up this coming Monday on the podcast, and we've got a pretty big giveaway coming up. Share some more details as we get closer. Probably share that Monday. We were talking to our friends at JMC Sports yesterday and getting something lined up for you guys. So excited for that. And Emery was invited to do an interview with somebody else next week.
Actually, I'm the one getting interviewed, though. So.
Yes. Emery was asked, and we hit sportscaster.com, which is a WJR affiliate, actually reached out and asked if Emery would be willing to do an interview with them. So that's next week, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday. So that's pretty exciting. I had mentioned on the podcast Monday that there was something else that was exciting, and I wanted to tell Emery off the air that's what it was. Just wanted to make sure that was buttoned down before we shared it out. So that's pretty exciting. Some cool stuff happening for the Sports Kid this year.
Yeah. Isn't that next week? Wednesday, I think?
Yes. So you are going to be interviewed.
That's kind of weird. Kind of crazy. I'm the one getting interviewed.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So a couple comments here in the chat real quick, and then we will get our special guest in. We've got my mother tuning in, and we got Mel from Tallahassee. She says, Tallahassee here, and it's cold. Well, it's really
-10 here.
It's really cold here in Michigan. Kids had snow days today, and we had blizzard conditions yesterday. So I would probably take Florida cold over Michigan cold right now.
Florida cold? How cold's Florida cold? Like 50?
Yeah, they put their coats and hats and boots on when it's like 50 degrees out down there. So Emery's literally wearing shorts right now.
Yeah.
He's that kid. He went outside this morning.
Yeah, I went outside to take the garbage out, and you're like, "You cold yet?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, he was wearing shorts and a hoodie this morning outside. And what is your saying about cold?
Cold's just a mindset.
It's just a mindset. But the mindset this morning was negative wind chill numbers. And like, no, this is a reality, not just a mindset. So, Emery, let's get right into it. Who do you have as a special guest today? Okay, real quick. She says it's supposed to be 25 degrees tonight and snow predicted for Sunday. Okay. I'll give you that. That's cold. All right. You have a special guest.
Yes.
Who is it?
The one.
You want to do, do we need to do a drum roll?
Sure.
Okay. I think he deserves a drum roll. And then you're going to give him a big shout out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get the drum roll started. I got to get the behind the scenes stuff ready, and then you do your thing, and then we will load him right in to the studio. Ready? Okay, let's go. Get started.
The one and the only Dustin Fuoco from 97 won the ticket.
That's right. Hey, Dustin.
What's going on? I don't know if I deserve a drum roll. I probably at best maybe deserve one blow out of a kazoo at most, but I'll take a drum roll.
Yeah.
You deserve it. Well, we appreciate you being on here, Dustin, and really exciting for us. So Dustin, formerly of 97, won the ticket.
Yes, formerly.
But we're going to talk about that. Emery, you've got some questions for him, and what do you got?
So if you, to the viewers, if you have watched the podcast when other people have been on the show, we have a little segment that we like to call Meet the Guests, where we have 5 quick questions, kind of just to like get to know them. So we'll start them off, or start the questions off. What's your favorite Detroit sports team, pro or college?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a very common question I get all the time. And here's where my like bias always kind of comes in. It's depending what kind of season we're in. Like if we're in playoff mode with a specific team, then that's usually where I'm leaning. Right now, I got to say the Pistons. It changes year to year, but right now the Pistons are quite possibly the best team we have here in Detroit. So I'm really enjoying the run they're on, but we start looking like we are with the Red Wings come late March, early April, and we get back into the playoffs. It's going to be hockey because you actually, Emery, you're what, 12 years old, right?
Yeah.
So you have not yet experienced what playoff hockey is like here in Detroit. So if you're missing out, I'm not going to knock any other postseason. I love having playoffs at Ford Field for the Lions. That was a blast. It's been great having Comerica Park filled up again for the Tigers. And I was at some games at LCA for Pistons and Knicks. Those were great. But there's nothing that beats playoff hockey here in Hockey Town. So I'm hoping for your sake, too, and a whole other generation of sports fans here in Detroit who have never got to experience playoff hockey, if we get into the postseason this year with the Red Wings, it's going to be a heck of a ride. So I will definitely say the Red Wings will be my favorite if we're postseason bound this year.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny that you say that, because last week we talked about, because like it was like the Sergei Fedorov jersey retirement night. So we were like, had that game on and we're talking about it. And he's just saying how like you've just never experienced what it's like being, you know, Hockey Town.
The Fedorov thing made me reminisce a bit about the 90s and the early 2000s. And I was a huge Wings fan back in the day and got to go to a bunch of, my very first Red Wings game ever was actually a Stanley Cup Finals game against the Devils back in, was it 95 or 96? They got swept that year, but
that was the year that set up the run.
Exactly. And so, the hype from those years was awesome. Emery's gotten into hockey quite a bit the last couple of years. We've still enjoyed and watched playoff hockey and Stanley Cup Finals, but to truly experience it here in Detroit and Hockey Town is different.
Yeah.
We got to experience a little bit of a ride the last couple of years where they pushed, especially 2 years ago when they were just they missed out on it by the tiebreaker to Washington.
Yeah.
So that in itself was fun. So it's going to get elevated way more if this is the year we get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, I kind of I don't know. We were watching that one game, and it was like the one-timer off the face-off.
It was that game 2 years ago, right? Where it was the last game of the regular season.
Montreal.
And Emery, what did you say to me?
I said, I don't know, but I'm going to say, I said we're cooked.
He's like, this game's over. I'm like, Emery, I was at a game, again, it was like back in the 90s, early 2000s, and it was like a Larionov goal where it was like 0.4 seconds left or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I've been at games. Like every fraction of a second counts in hockey. And I'm like, you never know. You never know what happens. And
surely enough, the one-timer off the face-off, he jumps up. My sisters are sleeping downstairs.
Yep.
I'm sure I had the same reaction. And I if I remember correctly, I think it was back-to-back games where they came back within the final seconds against Montreal. And that last game, they ended up tying it, and then they won it in the shootout, which was the most disappointing shootout victory ever because they already knew their fate.
Yeah. I think they find out like in between at the end of the game and before the shootout that it didn't really matter or something like that. So, yeah, that was awesome.
Question number 2. Who's your favorite Detroit sports player of all time, any sport?
Ooh, all time. I used to always say the same name, but I might have to take it back because it was always Justin Verlander. But as more and more time goes on, he's starting to kind of be more synonymous outside of the Tigers. And really kind of, if you ask me how he retires, I'd say he'd retire now as probably an Astro. So I'm going to say it's probably still Justin Verlander. I'm hoping somebody can overtake that role. And if somebody is, I could very well see Jahmyr Gibbs being that guy. He's done some good things for the Lions. And I Jahmyr Gibbs, Cade Cunningham, there's some real stars we have on our Detroit teams right now. And there could be a new person that holds that spot in the next few years, depending on how these next few seasons shape up for both teams.
Yeah, definitely. I was, still am, but like a big Hutchinson fan. Because like my first game, it was that Lions Commanders game, Hutch's rookie year. That was my first Lions game ever, where he like had like the 2 or 3 sacks or whatever it was, and like broke that record for.
Was that the year we started off like 1-5 or whatever?
And then turned around and went like 9-8.
Yep.
So that was week 2 of that season.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that was a big game for Hutch.
Yep.
And the whole way there, my dad's like, Emery, don't get your hopes up. The Lions are not very good.
I was trying to ease him into Detroit Lions football. I mean, we watched it obviously on TV a bit, but that was his first game. I'm like, let's just go in. We'll sit down, see the national anthem and all that. Maybe halfway through the first quarter, we'll go get some snacks and souvenirs, and we won't miss much. But that game was nonstop. Like, it was.
We're up because like it was my first game, so we were like buying like merch and stuff or whatever. And on the TVs, we're just here. Oh my gosh! And like the roar, and he's like, "What are we missing?"
Like usually you don't miss much at Lions games, but that season, that was the year that they turned things around. They really did.
Yeah.
That was a fun season.
But like the past year or two, I think Jahmyr Gibbs has like definitely like climbed up my list. I'm like a huge Gibbs, not huge, but like I'm a pretty big Gibbs fan. Might have said he's better than Barry a couple times.
That's a bold take. I think he's got the potential to reach that level.
Yeah.
But
next question. What's your favorite Detroit sports memory?
Let's take a quick break to shout out one of our awesome sponsors, the North Oakland Staffing Agency, or the NOXA for short. Whether you're a business looking for top talent or someone ready to take the next step in your career, the NOXA is here to help you grow to your potential. Born out of a true love for people, the North Oakland Staffing Agency serves northern Oakland County, Michigan, and beyond, offering staffing, recruiting, internships, and consulting services. As a client, you'll get personalized attention, real understanding of your needs, and a team that won't stop until they find the right fit. So if you're ready to grow, visit thenoxa.com. That's THENOKSA.com and take the next step with the staffing agency that puts people first. Now, back to the show.
Detroit sports memory. I gotta think. That's a good one too. You're coming up with the hard questions here. I can think of a handful of playoff games that I've been to. Probably I will say the biggest game I've ever been to in my life would have been last year. And I working it up in the press box. We can't show any emotion. We can't cheer, but working that last game of the season, Lions and Vikings, and knowing what was on the line when it was for the 1 seed, it was for the NFC North. That's probably the biggest game I've ever been to. And that was, that was a fun experience. But as a fan, probably the most exciting moment I saw would have been the walk-off bomb from Rajay Davis against the Athletics about, 15 years ago. Going to make me feel old going back, but yeah, about 15 years ago or so.
Rajay Davis. I think he's still...
Isn't that who I have? I have his autograph.
Yeah, you got his autograph because he's still part of the organization, right?
I don't know if he had a role for a while. He's always been very well spoken. If he ever decides to go into the broadcasting business, I think he'd make a great in that field. But I don't know if he's still with the team.
It wasn't last year, was it? It was the year before, maybe?
Yeah.
2 years ago, after a game, he was coming out of the stadium and Emery got his autograph. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Kind of corresponding to the last question, what's the best event you ever attended?
Okay, so I'll definitely, I don't want to duplicate the answer. So I will say that game against the Vikings, if I have to throw out another one here, I've actually never been to a playoff game for the Red Wings in person. So I'm going to have to go, probably my best playoff experience would have been the Tigers. Which one? I'd say probably game 3 against the Yankees when it was Justin Verlander. He threw 8 1/3 innings, and Tigers ended up winning that game 2-1.
That's awesome. So you made a comment about not being able to really show emotion in the broadcast booth. So where is that? Does that come from, I guess, like your boss, or like who kind of, is it just kind of the thing that you don't do? Or
stadium rules. You'll hear that when you enter. You'll hear over our personalized PA system that we have to refrain from cheering or anything like that. All of our Detroit guys are extremely professional, but I will say I'll rat out a couple teams. Packer fans or Packer press people, they don't hide their emotions. And who was it this year? I think there was another. I think it might have been last year, actually. It was this year. Giants. I think the Giants fans were pretty emotional. And when I say fans, I mean the workers there. So
yeah, so that's got to be tough because, like you said, you want to be hype and excited, and you got to be dialed down and professional.
Yeah.
Yes. And it usually when I'm there, I'm always sitting next to the Riegers. Jeff Rieger and I we're always comparing our bets and seeing who's going to hit. So he gets pretty into it too. We have to keep that on down low. But you actually might be speaking with his brother Dave. He does. I think there's a good chance he might be doing your interview with WJR.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So he does a lot of that stuff. So if you do, you can tell him I gave you permission to give him an extra hard time if he's the one interviewing you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Question number 5, fifth and final question. What's your favorite sport to play?
Ooh. Well, there's a reason I'm in sports broadcasting, criticizing people that can do things I can't do whatsoever. So I played soccer in high school, and I wish I did more wrestling through high school. I did that as a young kid, like in middle school. I wish I would have pursued that. But the only thing I really still play is baseball and softball now. Now it's downgraded to softball. So softball is the one I'll still consistently play, but baseball in general is my favorite that I do like to play. And if I was a little bulkier and had some muscle, I'd love to play football too. But one tackle, I'll probably snap like a twig.
Nice.
So that kind of concludes the Meet the Guest segment. So we're kind of now going to move into kind of more questions about your time on like 97.1 and how you got into broadcasting and stuff like that.
Fire away.
So what made you get into broadcasting?
So I think we were talking about this too off here. I thought I started very young. I started pretty much fresh out of high school getting into radio and television. You have way more of a head start than I do. But getting into radio and TV, I went to Specs Howard right out of high school. I think a year out of high school, actually, because I worked at Cedar Points for the summer after high school. And when I went to Specs Howard, I thought I always wanted to do more of the TV side of things. But it just kind of worked out where I went more into radio, even though I've done some stuff in TV. And I started off doing the music station. So I was at 101 The Riff and 94.7 WCSX. And I was doing some play-by-play sports stuff on the side. And I really I had more of an interest in that than music at the time. So got my first job in sports radio at Spartan Sports Network, even though I still say go blue. But started working at Spartan Sports Network. Got a job hosting at a station out in Howell, WHMI, where I was part of their weekly sports show that I did there, along with a bunch of other duties. And then COVID-19 hit, and I stepped away from radio and television. And I had a bunch of other jobs and stuff I was doing, and I stepped away from broadcasting in general. I always said the only way I'd ever get back into radio would be for 97.1 The Ticket, because I am such a passionate Detroit sports fan. I absolutely love the teams, love the station and the content that they do there. And I had a job in marketing at the time, and I remember scrolling through and I saw a position for something that was a lesser role than I was used to. It was a producer role when for the last 5-6 years within the field, I was only doing on-air stuff. And I sent my resume in for that, and they responded very, very quickly and said that this would be a step back for me, but there could be room for growth. And I took the chance, saying I'd be willing to take a step back in hopes of something coming from it later on the road. And I did the producer role, which was still fun, for about a year. And after a year, they bumped me to an on-air capacity and was doing on-air stuff there for about 2.5 years ever since.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
So when, how did they, well, one question I've kind of had, I mean, you have to earn your spot probably, right? So
Yes.
The hot times are probably like the morning show, obviously, and then like the drive home. Is that kind of how it works? And then
I'd say anything from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is your prime time at the Ticket.
yeah,
Typically mornings, I would say, is your number one time slot. I believe 97.1's best ratings, though, are Valeni shift from 2 to 6.
yeah,
So probably, but anything Carson Anderson, Valeni show with Rico and Costa and Jansen, they're all in the prime spots.
nice. Yeah, we actually got to meet John Jansen at a Michigan tailgate this year too, which was pretty sweet.
The Michigan-Washington game.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Was that the? I take it not the playoff game, right?
Yeah, not the playoff.
No,
Okay, so that would have been. I'll tell you right now. I know for a fact that would have been on October 5th of 2024, because that was the game I had to sneak and watch on my phone because I was getting married that day. That was the day of our wedding.
this was 25.
Oh, okay. So last season.
This past season.
This past season. Okay.
Yeah.
So no, I don't know the date for that one.
Okay. So, but you did get married on a Saturday during a Michigan game.
Yeah, it was a risky move. We were just hoping it didn't fall on Michigan State.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember my buddy Mike, who's been on this podcast. He got married
On the Michigan's. It was during Michigan.
Was it the Michigan State game? It was
Yeah, because they had like projectors.
Yeah, they actually had projectors set up.
I would have. So that was also we were planning this wedding at this time. I didn't think there was a chance the Tigers would make the playoffs, but that was actually, they were in the playoffs that day too. It was game 1 against Cleveland of the AL. Or no, was it Cleveland?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it was. Yes, 2 years ago, Cleveland, because they lost the series to Cleveland in the ALDS. In that first game, they got smoked 8-0 or something.
Yeah. October weddings are tricky.
Doesn't help when my wife, she's a Saints. She hates sports. She puts up with it every single day. But that was the one day she's like, "Can we just do without sports?" And I will. This is going to be a little off topic, but I got to transition into. You asked questions like, "What's my best sports moment?" I can tell you my worst sports moment of all time, and it was on my honeymoon.
Okay.
because this would have been game 2 of the ALDS. We are in the Bahamas, and this is the Tigers and Guardians. 0-0. I believe it was probably the 8th inning. Watched the entire game. Nothing happened. And my phone finally runs out of data right before the 2-1 pitch to Kerry Carpenter, like right on the delivery. And that 2-1 pitch was the 2-run bomb that ended up winning the game. That was, I would say, the best Tiger moment in the last 10 years.
That's funny. Well, that's our intro walk-off there, is the Kerry Carpenter.
Yeah.
We got to go to game 3. It was the first home game.
They won that one, right?
Yeah, they won that one.
Yeah.
And then the one after they lost.
Yeah. We got to go to one this past season. What game was that? It was the big rain delay game
against the it was against the Mariners.
The Mariners. Yeah.
I think that was a dud, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 We did make it on
get
TV.
to see. Yeah, we made it on
Was
TV.
it was the Blue Jays, right?
No, it was the Mariners.
It was the Mariners.
I wasn't here. Okay.
We did get to see Cal Raleigh hit a home run, so I guess that was.
It was the Cal Raleigh home run that he hit it to the dude wearing the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So like that game, it was rain delayed like literally like 3.5 hours, I think.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting, like, and they didn't say anything. Like, they like would put stuff up on the jumbotron. It's like, oh, it's gonna go. We're planning to start at 5, then it's 6, then it's 7:30, and we're like, what's going on? And then the whole stadium's soaked, so a lot of people just left. So it was the 8th inning.
They were down by 3 or 4 or something.
It was the inning that like they made like a slight comeback, or whatever it was, and we moved down to the this first row.
We were right on the dugout.
Right on the dugout because no one was there, and then. It was cool because we got on TV and then got to see Cal Raleigh hit that.
They started rallying, and the TV camera was right in front of us.
We thought that it was jumbotron,
and so we're cheering, jumbotron. And all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. Dude, you guys are on TV.
Nice.
So it was a cool experience for us. Obviously we wish they would have won, but
yeah,
it was fine.
Tiger playoff games are great, but I'm telling you, Dad better take you to a Red Wing playoff game this year. It's happening.
Well, we have not been to the LCA. We've been
we went to a Pistons game last year.
It was our first game at the LCA.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then we have not been to a Wings game. We've got tickets for a game in March. So
March 4th?
Yeah, looking forward to that. I think I said this before, but I grew up going to the Joe, and then when they built the LCA, it was kind of, I don't know, I didn't have interest in going. I want the nostalgia of the Joe, and you can't replace it. So
I did like the Joe too, but yeah, they've done a good job with LCA, and I'll be down there for the game tomorrow. So
awesome. Yeah, Emery went to a game at the Joe, and what year was that?
2016, because it was the year. Or maybe 2016 or 2017, yeah.
Was that the last year?
2017 was the last year at the Joe, I believe.
Yeah, so he did get to go. He probably doesn't remember it. But
yeah, I don't remember. All I know is that I got a puck. Some dude handed me a puck.
Some dude. It was Al Sabaka. We used to sit right on the Zamboni tunnel right there, and Al sat right there and would hand pucks out to the kids. So
nice.
Yeah. So awesome. What's your next question you got?
So look, back with your time at 97.1, I guess what highlighted your time at 97.1? What was
So there was a lot of duties I had going from pretty much any position there was. Started as a producer, did the morning updates, hosted all the games. But my favorite thing was always doing a show right after a home game. I loved going on after Red Wings and Pistons games and just hosting for a few hours with all the fans that are leaving the stadium, leaving LCA, and just getting their reactions. Comerica Tiger, doing it after Tiger games was always fun too, because that was always the highlight for me of working at the station. I loved interacting with this fan base here in Detroit. We've got some awesome fans, and being able to just interact with them after the games and get their feedback. If I can get them even more pumped about a big win or allow them to voice their frustrations after a disappointing loss, that's everything I loved about the job. That was my number one favorite thing.
Yeah, so when he kind of like told me about like that we were gonna do this, he's like, have you like, he like showed me like a snippet like from 97.1. He's like, have you ever heard his voice?
Well, I said your name and he's like, he didn't remember your name. I'm like, I know you will recognize the voice.
And I was like, oh yeah. But like I can remember voices, names, faces, but like I didn't know, like at first I thought you were like mourning because like I don't know. But then he was like,
I was all over the place. You could hear me one day at 5 a.m. and 11 at night that same night, or sometimes even I've done shows till 2 a.m. even. So
yeah.
And he was like, well, he was like after games, and I was like, yeah, now I remember. And then like I kind of started like
because it's like you said, what's cool about that slot is for whatever reason, it's like you go to the game and you want to be you're thinking about the game, right? You want to debrief about it. So it's just, even as I was growing up as a kid, going to Wings games, whatever, my dad would always turn on 97.1. I mean, we'd listen to it on the drive-in, right? And then as soon as we leave, we're listening to it again and then hearing everybody call in. So that time slot was kind of unique. So
yeah, I always enjoyed it. And anytime they asked me to do it, at least even if I had to be at the station at 5 a.m, if they need me to do a show from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., I was happy to do it. That was always my favorite thing about going to work.
I was going to ask you about that. So you mentioned, like, obviously back to the broadcast booths, like you've been there. How would it work? You know, how did that role kind of work, or what was that role? And then would you have to drive to the station, or if there was a game and you were on air, you just have to be at the station probably?
So it depends on the game. So Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons, all of those, I would always be in studio communicating with the play-by-play guys who are at the arena. Ford Field for the Lions games, I would always be down there live doing that. So yeah, I'd be there, get to enjoy the game as part of the job up in the press box. Then a couple hours after the game, it would just be me, Stoney, and Jennifer Hammond. 3 last people at Ford Field doing a radio show.
Oh, so you would be broadcasting straight from Ford Field.
Yep. We'd do our show and all the lights would be off sometimes. And we'd be the only one, like in a ghost town of Ford Field, that could fit about 100,000 people in there.
Wow.
Be weird, kind of, because like
yeah.
It's like
probably a little eerie, right?
Yeah.
It's eerie. I thought it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it, but yes, a very eerie feeling at first.
Oh, that's cool.
Did you get to like meet any players or anything along the lines of that?
So I've met some. So something I learned about, actually I had to do before 97 won the ticket, is one of my ventures I did in TV was I'm a big professional wrestling fan. So I was a promoter in Michigan, and so I had a lot of WWE talent come in for my shows. And I was a fan of professional wrestling ever since growing up. So having some of those guys that I used to watch on TV technically work for me, I was always like starstruck, but I had to kind of keep that on the down low. So, I've done some interviews with Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green. We always did interviews with Dan Campbell and Jared Goff on the station. So at that point, I was kind of used to dealing with some athletes and stuff that I used to watch all the time, but it was always a really cool experience. And in the back of my mind, I always realized how blessed I am to be able to have such a cool job to deal with those kind of athletes that I'm just a huge fan of. Did
you have a favorite?
Oof. If we're talking sports-wise, wrestling-wise, I got a million favorites. I don't know if are either of you guys wrestling WWE fans by any chance?
I know the people.
He knows the names. I grew up. I think I'm a little bit older than you, but so I was like in the WCW era.
The 90s era, yeah.
I actually have a Sting mask over here, but so I grew up with like the Hogan and Sting and the Big Show you know, those types of guys, but kind of got out of it like early 2000s.
All right, so yeah, there's probably most of my guys would have been the 2000s era, but Chris Masters is always one I always throw his name out as being a really genuine, cool guy. Detroit athlete-wise, the one that I have actually not met in person. We've done some stuff where he's done some interviews from LCA after a game, but I genuinely want to meet because he seems like a cool guy, and he's somebody I'm actually kind of trying to get on for a project that I'm working on right now. Jaden Ivey of the Pistons is just strikes me as the nicest, most humble guy, and any interaction I've had with him through radio, he's just been a very cool guy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Isn't there like rumors that they like might trade him or something?
I've been seeing that. I love the guy as a person. If you're asking if it's my opinion that we should trade him or that there'd be value there, I'd hate to see him go, but it might be something the Pistons could pursue.
Yeah, just depends on who they're trying to get and stuff. But
we don't need AD. I'm just going to throw that out there. We don't need Anthony Davis.
Obviously, you got to go to a ton of games, so that was my next question. But like, because we've already kind of talked about games and stuff like that, we can go on to the next question, which is kind of like the final question, and then we can like talk a bit more, and then we're going to talk about Lions. But what are your plans for the future with like broadcasting and sports wise and stuff like that?
So I don't know if I have a definitive plan right now. I do know I want to stay within the sports broadcasting realm. That's why I left 97.1. It was totally, everything there was totally cool on both ends. It wasn't, there's nothing of me being fired or, me leaving for unhappy reasons. I just wanted to pursue some other things that I couldn't while working at the ticket. So I'm kind of pumping out some content myself right now just to stay fresh while I get a game plan. I'm in talks with trying to get some athletes together to do some certain topic pieces, but I do plan on being a lot more active now with social media, which is something I have not done in the last 4 years. Just made my first Instagram and TikTok account and getting all of that situated. But I do plan on being in the Detroit sports broadcasting realm still because we have such a great town, so many great teams in this town too, and I'm not ready to give that up. I just want to pursue some other things along with it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that kind of concludes the questions. So now we can actually like get into like the main sports talk.
Yeah.
Well, there is kind of another question. What do you think the Lions need? So moving on to Lions and sports, what do you think that the Lions need to do in the offseason to turn the team around and get the grit back?
So I think the number one thing that needs to be done, and we are clearly in the works of it right now, is we need to get the role of offensive coordinator correct this time around. It's a far-fetched one because I think he's going to be head coach bound, but I'd love to see like Mike McDaniel get that role. But whoever it is, it's going to have to fit this Lions mold that we've been accustomed to the last few years with this regime. There seems to be a very obvious standard this team has for every position and every role, and you got to fit that mold to get the role. But I think that's probably the biggest reason the Lions took a step back this year. I don't think Dan Campbell did a bad job overtaking the responsibilities of offensive coordinator, but as a result, every other aspect of his game kind of suffered. So while he's fine calling plays, he needs somebody to do it for him so that way he can give his proper attention to the defense, to the offense, towards time management, because if all of his attentions are on calling plays for the offense, that kind of sets this team back a little bit. So that's the number one thing I want to see this team get squared away.
Yeah, so on Monday when we were on our podcast, we kind of talked about that too, how I think we do need to get like a head coach as someone who has higher up experience to be the offensive coordinator. Just because, I don't know, Ben Johnson, him and the Bears have obviously been doing well. I don't know if we're going to get Ben Johnson as our offensive coordinator, but we kind of need someone who can, like you said, help Dan Campbell so that he can go back to being, the head coach, so he can focus on all sides of the ball, not just the offense. So,
yeah, I think Ben Johnson is a hard guy to replace in a way, but it's not irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to, we got to get somebody like Ben Johnson because of the type of mentality and kind of the stigma now that the Lions have, where you look at what Matt Patricia did with this team. Nobody wanted to play here. What Dan Campbell's done here is he's made this a destination team. I was surprised we had Ben Johnson as long as we did. Last season, he was more than capable enough of going out and getting a head coaching job, but he chose to re-sign and come back here for another year. So I think that speaks volumes that people want to be here in Detroit. So while somebody like Mike McDaniel is far-fetched because there's so many head coaching jobs available, somebody that is capable of getting maybe a undesirable head coaching job might choose a lesser role as an offensive coordinator for the Lions, because this is a team that's still set up to succeed pretty well.
Yeah, I think obviously looking at last year, the 15-2 record, I think, like you said, they're a team that's capable of winning. It's just what do you need to do to get to that point, kind of. And I don't know, Mike McDaniel, the Browns posted on their page interviewing Mike McDaniel
It was kind of fun. I don't know if you saw that. It's funny that the team makes a post about interviewing this guy. We're interviewing, it was that's what they had going for him, right? I don't think the Lions made a post about it, but it's just kind of funny to see the Browns making a big deal about interviewing him.
Did the Lions? I thought they made a post about Arthur Smith taking an interview. I might be wrong on that.
I didn't see. Maybe they did.
I think they did actually. I think they made a comment about that they were interviewing him or in the works of getting to interview him, but they did talk about interviewing Arthur.
Yeah, I'm curious with the Mike McDaniel. There was, somebody had called in on the ticket the other day and said, he'd be great to have as long as he doesn't wear his capris on the sideline. I'm like,
I think he'd be a good fit. I'd also think, which I don't think Shepard's going anywhere unless he gets a head coaching job, which I can't see that. I'd love to have Jim Schwartz back here as a DC. That'd be my dream scenario right there.
Yeah. I think that name's floated around before, but I'm with you. I think Calvin Shepard did a good job this year. People kind of gave him some grief, but the one comment, somebody had made the other day is maybe if they had a more seasoned defensive coordinator, he might have been able to do more with what he had, where Calvin doesn't have the experience. And so he maybe didn't do as good as he potentially could have. But again, he had to play the cards that were dealt to him.
And most of the games I think that the Lions lost this season, I wouldn't necessarily put it on offense. On defense, rather. I think maybe the Steelers game, that was a little surprising, giving up as many points as we did to Aaron Rodgers. But the game against Minnesota, you put up 10 points against the Vikings. I don't care how good your defense plays. The game against Philly, the defense did a great job against the Eagles. It was more of an offensive problem than defense. I think we might be able to do better than Shep, but I can't see us cutting ties with him after this season.
Yeah. It's kind of that same thing with John Morton, and we've kind of talked about it a lot on how Dan Campbell kind of took on that role of offensive coordinator, because we've kind of been up and down about it, because when he was winning, it's why don't we just keep him in there, because we're winning. But then when when we were losing, it's we should have taken him out. But
you just summed up the exact same thing every Lions fan that complains about him going on fourth down says. Yeah. If it works out, great, we love it. If it doesn't work out, then you got to be smarter and take the points.
Well, I think that you had made a post right about his or or the Lions' fourth down conversion rate this year, right?
Yes, it was, I think, like 57%, and there's like some stats that went along with it. To be honest, his fourth down rate was actually very, very good this year. There was just two games that stuck out that were really bad. The 0 for 5 against Philadelphia, and I think it was the Packers on Thanksgiving. Those were the two games where he was pretty unsuccessful, but there were a handful of games he did very well with fourth down. So just a couple outliers made those stats look a little skewed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I almost feel like we should have given John Morton like more of a chance. Like he literally had like 5 games or whatever.
I think it was 8.
Or yeah, it was 8. But I mean,
what's funny too, which the game that ultimately kind of sealed his fate, I believe the last game he had the responsibility of calling plays was against Minnesota, because the Lions looked terrible against the Vikings, and the second time around we were even worse with Dan Campbell calling the plays. We only scored 10 points.
Yeah, we had done, it was with John Morton, he went 5-3, or the Lions went 5-3, and then under Dan Campbell it was 3-5 up until the last game against the Bears.
Yeah.
So technically 4-5.
Yeah.
But going into that Bears game, it was 3-5, and like we were looking at it, just the stats, and there's a ton that went into that, right? There's the injuries on offensive line, and
I think the Sam Laporta one was the most telling.
Yeah. So I don't know. We kind of like John Morton, I guess, but do you know, like, you have any intel that you can share as far as why they made that decision?
Not on a personal level, no. I just I would assume the standard for this team is very, very high now. We've been accustomed as Lions fans to not expect a high standard, but the bar has been raised now for this Lions regime, and if you're not producing, I think there's going to be some changes even going into this next season that's going to upset some people. I'll make a bold prediction. I don't think David Montgomery is going to be a Lion for at least all of next season. I think he might even be a traded piece away mid-season or even before the season gets going.
Yeah, which people are going to be upset about, and I get it, like last year, the whole Sonic and Knuckles thing. And everybody was just buying into everything and eating it all up. But it's like, what do? You got Jahmyr Gibbs, arguably one of the best, could potentially be one of the best of all times. Do you need to, you got the salary cap hit with Monty.
And we experienced this all a few years ago too. And I think running backs are very replaceable in the NFL. There's maybe 5 of them in the entire league that should be kind of on reserve. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of them. David Montgomery, to me, that's the exact same thing as we experienced with Jamal Williams a couple years ago, where everybody wanted him signed and look at how great he is. And we found out year one after him, it wasn't necessarily, it was Jamal Williams. It was, we had a good O-line. We had the right pieces. We had the right offense that set up a running back for success. Yeah. David Montgomery, he's going to operate well for the most part here in Detroit because of the pieces around him. I don't know how much of that is Montgomery as much as it is the other pieces. Jahmyr Gibbs, he stands out on his own.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was 97-1 or maybe you were looking at something. I'm not sure. But it was like David Montgomery, everyone's like, oh, give him a chance. They're not giving him any touches. But in the last 3 or 5 games, he was getting touches and just was not producing whatsoever.
I think it was actually your video. You made a video the other day and graded him. It was that one.
I got a little harsh feedback for giving him a D, but yeah, everybody was clamoring for weeks that he wasn't getting a lot of touches. That game against Minnesota is that we keep on talking about, the worst offensive game of the year for the Lions. That was the most carries he had in 9 games, and he had 10 carries, 25 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah, I'd go as far as I've said that game is probably the worst Lions game
in 3 years.
And probably more than that I've even ever seen. And because back, you got to figure 5-10 years ago, whatever, you just expected them to not be good. Where this year, it was like, what are they? Like, this is terrible.
I can think of a couple other. There was that game when I think it was the first year we made the playoffs against Baltimore. We got smoked against Baltimore. That was an ugly game. And then going back to that run where they just missed out on the postseason that year 2 under Dan Campbell, I think it was Carolina where we needed to win to keep like a better chance of getting to the playoffs, and we just laid an egg against Carolina on, I think it was like Christmas Eve, I believe.
Yeah, but that back then you kind of expected them to not be that good. Where this year,
yeah, SOL. I think SOL died a few weeks later after they won that game against Green Bay. I'd say that's when SOL died.
Yeah, this year it was like the Christmas Day. I wasn't a big fan of them doing that. I don't know. We didn't have high expectations of that game anyway, but that was, I don't know.
I told him, I was happy it was a road game, so I didn't have to be there. I was like, I had to have it on so I could cover it, but I couldn't care less about that game. And I cared even less about the game against Chicago. That was literally meaningless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts, Emery?
Well, I don't know exactly who all the Lions have to sign, but I do kind of want to talk about that, like, Amik Robertson. We're like pretty big Amik Robertson fans, because like he was like the second person that I ever interviewed, so we really like him. I don't know, he was just a really good dude. He was just a good dude. Obviously, a good defensive back or cornerback, but rumor is they're saying that we're not going to bring him back. So, kind of talking about that, and then, like, who else do you think that we have to sign, or who else do you think that we have to let go?
I think the defense is going to be really shaken up this year. I think there's a chance we won't see Robertson. I think there's a pretty good chance we won't see Anzalone. Obviously, he's signed and he got a good contract. Everything I'm hearing, I don't know if Kirby Joseph's ever going to play football again. It could be that serious, and that's a huge loss. I think defensively, the one piece which he should be back for most of the season next year, I would believe, Brian Branch, he has to get back. But I am expecting some big defensive shakeups, at least when it comes to corner and safety and stuff. I don't know if we're going to see any help for Hutch, though, because just my personal opinion, this team has had opportunities to give him help and support over the last few years, and they seem to be totally content with Hutch doing it on his own. So I don't know if you're going to see changes there, but yeah, in that secondary, we might see a big shakeup out there.
Yeah, so I hadn't actually heard that Kirby Joseph. So, like, what is his issue? Like, is he, like, not healing?
I don't know the actual details. It sounds like it's going to be something persistent, though, not like nothing that can be surgically healed, from what I'm hearing. So it's going to be something that's going to be a chronic issue moving forward. Again, this is hearing from source after source, so it's not anything directly told to me. But I wouldn't be shocked if he's done playing football. I hope not. Great player, good dude, but wouldn't be shocked if we don't see him play again.
Yeah, which is like crazy, because he was like had just gotten like so good.
And how does that work with his contract? Because they just signed the giant contract with him.
I would assume the Lions would have to eat it.
Really?
I would assume so, and that's probably, judging how that organization works, I think they would eat it too. You don't want to. We've seen, this organization in the past be petty with like Calvin Johnson. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be a good look for them to say, sorry, you're injured, SOL in a different sense.
Yep.
So I think they'd take care of him that way. I'm working for these teams. I can tell you, getting to work for each one of the teams in some form of a capacity. The Lions are not one of the cheaper teams. They actually do a really good job. I've got friends that work at the facility and work at the organization, and they say it's a great team to work for, and they take care of their people. So I would assume Kirby Joseph would be taken care of financially too.
That's good.
Yeah, because I mean, I kind of like already like just said it, but like, you know, he was like the best safety in the league, I'd say. Like he was like, I might be wrong, but I believe he led the league in interceptions 2 years ago, when they went 15-2.
I think that would have been, if it was him leading, I think that might have been the year we just missed out on the playoffs when he had like 3 picks against Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But, I mean, he was, like, good. And that's, like, him and Brian Branch was, like, the best safety duo, literally, in the NFL. So.
Great duo. I'd imagine Brian Branch will be back for most of next year. You can only hope and pray that Kirby Joseph is right there with them. So,
yeah. It's a huge loss.
Yeah.
But then, do you think that they're gonna sign Sam Laporta again, and have to sign Gibbs and Branch?
That's what's so interesting about this team. There's players like David Montgomery. I was surprised they extended him. The one that shocked me the most was them extending Jameson Williams. Because that actually came after the draft. When they bumped up to draft Tesla, I was convinced he was the one that was going to be taking J-Mo's role, but evidently J-Mo's going to be a longer-term piece here. And if you ask me, which I think J-Mo did a great job this season, I'd rather have Sam Laporta than Jameson Williams. So I'm hoping Sam Laporta is a piece that they extend. Gibbs, if he continues to play like he has the last couple of years, he keeps getting better each and every year. The Lions are going to have a very hard time explaining why he didn't re-sign a generational talent like him. So I can't see them letting him slip through their fingers. But Goff extended, J-Mo extended on this offense. Hutchinson given that contract. They're paying people left and right, but at some points there's going to be people left out that you can't pay.
Yeah. Kind of like talking back at like Mike McDaniel, you know, obviously he had Tyreek Hill on his team, and the one year he had like 1,800 receiving yards, 13 touchdowns. Do you think that like they could maybe utilize J-Mo like they kind of utilized Tyreek Hill in the Dolphins, or?
I think what we saw out of J-Mo the second half of the year is peak Jameson Williams. That's probably the most you're going to get, which I'm okay with. If everything else is clicking on this offense, you can get by with that. I think he solidified himself this second half of the season as a really, really good second wide receiver. And after St. Brown went down in the Packer game against them on Thanksgiving, he stepped it up, proving that if needs to be called upon, he can actually be wide receiver number 1 as well. Yeah. Because he took on a great role of leadership that game. I wish he could have finished it off. He had a critical drop on 4th down. I just got done posting a video, or no, I didn't. Not about him. I just got done bashing St. Brown. Another video I'm going to post is where I praise J-Mo. But yeah, I wish he could have finished that off against the Packers on that 4th down play. But that was a game where I really kind of turned the corner on Jameson Williams and said he's somebody that you can rely on in those key situations. But I don't know if you're given the quarterback he's gotten. It's not a slight on Jared Goff. You're not going to see him kind of hit those 50-yard bombs regularly. You'll get those maybe 2 or 3 times a year out of J-Mo and Goff.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like J-Mo would be I'd say a really good receiver if Goff had an arm. Because like J-Mo, I don't know, this year he got a lot better at like running his routes. You know, he was just overall a better receiver. Where like before he just had speed. He didn't really run his routes perfectly. He wasn't a great receiver. He just had speed. That was like his only asset, really. Where like this year, got a lot better at route running. You know, really like shaped up into that like like you said, wide receiver number 2. If needed, a wide receiver 1 like position. But like if Goff could throw it 60 or 70 yards, it'd be a whole different story.
And I think he can throw it. He can throw those bombs. It's just for whatever reason, it's not his game he chooses to go to. He goes for more check down stuff. J-Mo, that's again, for me was a perfect trade piece. And if they ever decide to trade him, this year we needed him more than previous years, but like 2 years ago, when we had a healthy Sam Laporta and St. Brown wasn't dropping passes, Jamo was just a luxury we didn't need.
Yeah.
If he goes to a team like the Chargers where Justin Herbert can throw a bomb, or I mean, what if he ties up with our old friend Matthew Stafford? And there's quarterbacks that he could probably have more of a success rate with, but I think Jamo, given the kind of offense this team runs, what we saw the second half of the year this past season, that's everything you can ask out of him, and that's probably as much as you can expect out of him.
Yeah.
So you said you were making or just posted a video about St. Brown. So in a nutshell, what's your opinions there?
St. Brown. So I did a series where now I'm kind of splitting them up a little bit, where I'm grading a handful of Lions players, and I gave Jared Goff a C. I think most people were good with that. Not a lot of people liked that I gave Jahmyr Gibbs a B. And even more people were upset I gave David Montgomery a D. I'm waiting to see the response because I just posted it before coming on here, but I gave him a C.
Okay.
Not because he had a bad year, but because he played like a top 5 wide receiver, but the years prior he played like a top 3. So my bar for St. Brown is a lot higher than most receivers in the league. And because he had those drops we were talking about, and he wasn't as reliable of a weapon as he's been in the past couple of years, I'm giving him a C on that. And so I'm waiting to see how many people want to tell me I'm an idiot and know nothing about sports after this.
Well, last year it was how many games did he go where he was perfect?
Last year he
had
literally
no drops.
He had 2 drops, I think. 2 or 3 drops.
Sounds about right. Yeah. And last year I would have given him an A, but my bar is different. I will say, this is a spoiler. There is one person out of the video that I did that I gave an A to. So that'll come out within the next week or so. But it wasn't St. Brown. I had to drop him to a C because my bar for him was pretty high, and he kind of dropped down a little bit.
Who would you give an A? I have my A.
If you're A? What do you probably think? Tesla?
His last name ends in 2 A's. It's double A.
Yeah.
He's A+.
Right, well, I'm going to ruin the spoiler. He's who I gave an A to.
Okay, there you go.
So I'm right there with you. For just like with St. Brown's bar being different, Tesla's bar was different for a rookie year who didn't see that many touches. He made the most of his catches, and he looks like he's a great piece to this offense.
I was talking to a guy yesterday and about that and how, as a rookie, I mean, Tesla just this year looked like consistently he was out there to win and have fun, and he was giving it his all, right? Where, as you mentioned, like St. Brown, something turned halfway through the season but St. Brown, Montgomery, these guys just they lost their grit. I mean, we were talking about it those weeks, and it's like, what happened to this team where Tesla, shoot, every game he's out there doing backflips, whatever he can to catch the ball,
And I think that goes into him being a rookie. You look at David Montgomery and St. Brown. David Montgomery last year played on this team that was 15-2 and was a Super Bowl favorite. And St. Brown's been along from the ride from that first win against Minnesota and that debut year for Dan Campbell to fit that 15-2 year the previous season too. So these are players that are used to all that success. So when you see the season kind of going on the downslide, I do think that probably took an emotional toll on them and it affected their game. Whereas a rookie like Tesla, first year in the league, doesn't know any better. He's just happy to be out there and makes the most of his opportunities. So yeah. I'd say he was very well deserving of an A, and I'm hoping year 2 is just as good.
Yeah. I mean, my hope would have been to see St. Brown, Montgomery, these guys that are, arguably veterans in the league and the team, lift up the other guys, right? Instead of, at least my opinion, and I know nothing about it, but it just seems like from my perspective, like they bought into the emotional downturn and it didn't seem like they were there firing the guys up and pushing them to be better.
Yeah, I was kind of going to say that. How you were saying that, like, St. Brown was kind of like a top 3 receiver, and now he's kind of like a top 5. And where I'm kind of thinking about it is like, I don't know, I almost feel like his attitude kind of changed, if that makes, like, he almost, like, not in a way, because I don't know. I don't know like what kind of a person he is or how he's like, but it's like he almost like kind of like Justin Jefferson or like Jamar Chase, like they only want to win, if that makes sense.
Got an arrogance probably to him.
Yeah.
And St. Brown, I think he'd be the first to tell you he's very prideful. He knows his ability, and he holds himself to that high standard that I hold him to. So when he doesn't live up to it, I mean, he wants to be out there and be the very best he can be. So when he's not playing, I think the best, he knows the drops he's had. He knows he's better than that. I just think it probably took a mental toll on him. Probably players like David Montgomery too, who I have had personal experiences with, and I can say he takes this game very, very seriously. And I just seeing the emotion on him after he suffered that injury that he thought was going to end his season 2 years ago. These are players that want to play, and I think we talked about it with this offensive coordinator position, how the Lions have a certain mold of a kind of player or person they want on this team. They want players and they want staff that genuinely want to win. These aren't guys. There's not one player on this team I can tell you I think he's out there just to make a living, just to make a paycheck. And there's tons of people in the league in every game that just go in there because this is their job. They want to make the most money. These are players that genuinely want to win. So when you're not winning, that can play a mental factor in your game.
Yeah, for sure.
That kind of goes back to like in the past couple weeks when we've been talking about the Lions, we've just kind of said like they kind of lost their grit. Like we've kind of said like they're not the same team that they were a year ago. Obviously, like I don't know, like they didn't play as hard, they didn't care as much.
I agree they lost their grit, but I think they lost their grit a couple years ago because when I think of Lions grit, I think of that season where we just missed out on the playoffs and we still beat the Packers in a game that didn't mean anything for us. The year after that, maybe there was some grit too, but that 15-2 year, they weren't operating at a team like I'm picturing a gritty team fighting and scrapping for wins. Last year was not fighting and scrapping for wins. They were a powerhouse where they were the best team in the league. And I think they probably forgot that grittiness to them because the previous season was so easy for them almost. Obviously, no wins are easy in the league, but they were running roughshod through team after team after team. And I think that game against Washington in the playoffs was a real kick to the jaw to them. And they did not, unfortunately, they didn't respond in this season. And I think they need to kind of get back. Maybe they needed this season to humble them. I hope the door's not closed. I hope the window's not closed to continue building off of what this Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes regime has built. But if they needed a wake-up call, this season should have been that.
Yeah. And I don't know, Emery, if you saw the letter from Sheila Ford. Dustin, you probably saw it.
I saw it. Are you talking about to the season ticket holders?
Yeah.
Yeah, I skimmed over that a little bit, but...
It seemed, I mean, basically, yeah, in a nutshell, she's basically like, yeah, this season did not go how we wanted it to go, and we are going to make every change that we need to make in the offseason to make it work next year.
So she's like the owner, right?
Yeah. So, and it was to the season ticket holders, so they're essentially her customer in the sense, her biggest customer, kind of. Yeah. So, but I believe her. I think what she's shown the last several years is she means it.
Yeah, and I think she's a great owner. I've never had, even when Martha had the team, I never blamed it on the Fords. I think, especially this ownership under Sheila, she has done everything for this team that you could possibly ask an owner to do to set them up for success. She got the GM right. She got the coach right. She's letting all these people make decisions. She doesn't have her hand in the pot. She's letting the football guys know what to do. So I think she's done a great job as owner. So, and I think she has the desire to want to win. So I think we're in good hands with her.
I agree. Well, we're a little bit over an hour now. I think it's been really good so far. Emery, anything else, or you pretty much covered it?
I mean, I could talk for hours, but
yeah, we can't keep Dustin up all night. He's got a 1-year-old, right?
1 year in 2 weeks exactly. Or no, oh gosh, I got his birthday wrong. No, it's a 12 days.
Okay. Yeah. So he's got a young one that he needs to get taken care of probably, and it's probably getting close to your bedtime.
Yeah, in like an hour.
So
I don't know. Do we have any? I think we got to find out how the Pistons are doing too. I got to check on that because they're playing right now against Phoenix.
yeah, we have a TV here in the studio, but I try to keep it off because we usually
They
get
are
distracted.
losing 53-44 with 3 minutes left in the second.
All right, so you're telling me it's going to be a comeback win at LCA tonight.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, they've had some great ones lately.
I had my chance to be at that Washington comeback that they forced overtime and won. I didn't end up going to that game because I didn't think it'd be any good.
What was the game a couple weeks ago? Was it the Bulls?
Yeah, with Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah. That Bulls game was great too. I don't know if you saw that one. I think they were down by like 13 or something. And
I remember that one.
Yeah, that was the game that like Stewart had his career high 35 points.
31. I think before that his highest was like 27, or for him to hit his high I think it was like 27 points, and he ended up getting 31 that game.
Yeah, would have never picked him to have 30.
Yeah. So this Pistons team is fun to watch, and back to what you talked about earlier, so are the Red Wings. We're pretty hype about it, and Emery's getting into hockey a little bit more, and that's the beauty right now with Detroit sports is that,
I mean, you can just, all the teams are good, so.
I mean, we want the Lions to win, but it wasn't super disappointing. I mean, it was, but we can just roll right into it.
We got enough stuff going on right now. We got Michigan basketball that looks like they're going to give us another good March. So
that's right.
That's what I'm counting down for right now. Give me some good March Madness and see if we can get another championship for the Maize and Blue.
Yeah. Have you been to any Michigan basketball games? Well, you said you were doing Spartan basketball, right? Or Spartan sports. So you've done some college basketball?
So, yeah, I never actually been to a Michigan basketball game, no.
Okay.
Yeah, Spartans. Yeah, Spartans. I'm sorry, a little lag there. I worked for the Spartan Sports Network. I've never been to a Michigan basketball game, though. I've worked them from the studio, but I've never been down there.
Yeah, I'd like to go. I've not been either. We've been to some football games, obviously, but looking at those ticket prices are driving up there.
Yeah, maybe after the loss to Wisconsin, they'll drop down a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. It's a really good team, and the Spartans are doing well too. I mean, I think it could be fun to watch them both in a couple months.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Dustin, greatly appreciate you being on here, and thank you so much for your time. It's been fun, and definitely want to stay in touch with you, and anything we can do. I guess the big question is, where can our listeners find you?
Well, like I said, pretty new to the social media. Facebook's been the most active with Dustin Fuoco Sports. You can also find me on Twitter, TikTok, or I got to call it X now. X, TikTok, Instagram, under the same tag of Dustin Fuoco Sports. He said if there's anything you can do for me, if you see Dave Rieger, just make sure you give him a very hard time. You can blame it on me. I hope you guys have a good time interviewing with WJR. That should be a good time for you guys.
Okay. Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you have a great rest of your night. And again, we greatly appreciate you being on here. And we will stay in touch with you, sir.
My pleasure. God bless, guys.
Yeah, take care. Have a blessed week, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
See ya. All right, Emery. Went pretty well.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Good conversation.
A pretty smart dude.
Yeah.
Knows his stuff. He's been behind the scenes. He's been in the broadcast booth. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. He's like lived it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's like done the actual like.
He's done the thing.
Yeah.
He's been there, done that. Yeah. So pretty awesome. Dustin's a great dude, and we do encourage everybody to go check him out. Give him some support, and stay tuned for him. He's got some cool stuff coming up, it sounds like. So
yeah.
Awesome. One last plug. Make sure to tune in next week, next Monday. our 1-year anniversary show.
Going to be announcing a massive giveaway.
Yeah. We've got a giveaway coming up, and then
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. And then also next week, Emery's got another big interview. So looking forward to that. Any details we get, that won't be live, I don't believe, but anytime or once they get the content rolled out, we'll be sharing that with you guys. So,
yep.
All right. You guys have a blessed week as well, and we will see you next week. See you
Next week.
next week.